Hey guys, so today I wanted to talk about how I set up my studio, the type of lights that I use, and what is the best situation for you that may work depending on the size that you have to work with. Now, when you choose specific equipment, make sure that you're getting equipment that's going to work for the space that you need. You don't want to get too massive of a light or a situation where you can't fit this stuff into your production, especially for a vlog setup. And you need to think about that when you're getting the equipment specifically for that. If you have the space, you can kind of go all out and do whatever you want, but if your space is limited, please think about that prior to getting it. Now, I always like to shoot obviously with a wide angle. The camera's a little bit closer, this way I can adjust. I talked a little bit about having a follow focus system and being able to do that manually. But for the most part, I want to kind of be hands-free. I have a monitor that I'm looking at here. I've got my mic set up and I've got my main light here, which is really one light, and then I have a hair light back here, which is basically with a blue filter just to bring a little color into the mix. And over here I have just a small kind of practical light, which is out of frame. Gives a little bit of color, you see a little bit of it. And that's primarily it, but the basics that you need obviously is going to be the camera. You could do two lights. I choose to do one main source light, and again, having that hair light is helpful for this particular situation for me. And that's it. So I have a desk set up here. I have also another desk over here, which I can put my gear down as I'm talking, so it's easily accessible if I'm talking about something and I want to bring it into frame. So let's say I wanted to talk about this camera, it's right here. I don't have to fumble too much and have to deal with some sort of extra editing and whatever. As far as the mic goes, it's set up on a mic stand, and I've got a flexible arm on there, and I can talk about that and what I use for that and how that's working out for me so far. I do have a few lights that I've used in the past, and I've mounted them above here. I don't use them all at one given time, depending if I'm doing something where I'm doing an overhead and I have the camera set up here. I have a light here that can kind of shine down and help with the lighting situation. Now, beyond this particular setup here, I have this backdrop here where a lot of people ask me, is that real wood or is that a backdrop? It is a backdrop. Behind here actually was a cement wall, which I was using, and it just felt a little too cold. It didn't work well with what I wanted to kind of obviously have a warmer environment, and I think the cement wall was a bit too cold. So I got this, drop down cloth, which basically they'll print out whatever you want on it. They have a whole bunch of different varieties that you can do, whether it's light wood, dark wood, or any sort of other textures, and it's an easy way to do it as well. So today I'm shooting on the Blackmagic 4K. I have my 6K back here. This has been really great for vlogging. I actually was using the A7 III and the A7 R3 to vlog for most of my past vlogs. So I use this mostly for B-roll. Right now I'm using the A7 III on a slider, basically shooting the environment back and forth, and I'm going to cut in and out of that. So I'm going to talk a little bit just basically about all the little things that I have set up here, just to give you an idea and a walkthrough of how I have my space, what I use it for when I'm shooting video, and also how I have a small photography setup here when I'm doing products or use it for videos as well. I love these Aputure lights. I use them in production. They get beat up. The bags that they came in are really fantastic. They're easy to travel with. I think they're worth the money, and again, if you even go with the first version, not the 120D2s, but the one, I mean, realistically, if you don't need that much more power, I think that they're great, so you can save a couple bucks that way. I tend to buy lights new, not used, because you don't know how many hours people use them in, and these lights will burn out eventually, so think about that when purchasing lights. But again, inexpensive C-stands. Newer makes really good C-stands. There's a whole bunch of other companies. I actually have two different brands, which I can link to as well, but the newer ones are pretty good. They're spring-loaded. They pack down really well, and they're pretty well built, so I really like them a lot. As far as the mic stand goes, again, I'll put a link below for that. These backdrops I think are great, especially if you're in a situation where maybe you just have a white wall and you don't want to light it, and you just need some sort of visual, like in the background to kind of make it work. I definitely would avoid shooting something on green screen and trying to create these environments. It's kind of a hassle because you need a lot of lights for green screen, and that's not something you should probably do. You want it to feel a little bit more natural, and that pretty much covers it. So that's the studio. I hope you enjoyed the walkthrough. If you have any questions, please hit me up in the comments below. Next video, I think I want to focus on how to actually work with these Blackmagic cameras and how to grade them. They've had a few updates. They work really well with Premiere, even though I'm using DaVinci as well. They're really easy to work with as far as colors go. I think the settings are really what you have to be careful of, because if you're not shooting in the raw format, then you're kind of, if you're not shooting it right, then there's no way to fix it. You could adjust a little bit, but again, you get used to the camera, check out your settings, make sure your lighting's right, and you should be all fine. But again, next video I want to focus more on that and the colors and how I use them and how I grade this. So when I'm shooting the vlog, I'm just shooting in ProRes. Obviously it's not giving me that 4K, but I set the colors the way that I want to and everything in camera, so everything should be okay. And I'm also using the Atomos recorder as a backup. It's not as sharp as what's coming out of camera, but it will do if I need a backup or I need to take some outtakes out. I think what's really important here is creating some sort of texture and working with the lights. Now, if I went ahead and turned off these lights, and this is a huge difference in any production. Obviously, if you don't have lights and you use, let's say, the house lights or use fluorescent lights, and I'll show you what happens in real time when I turn this light off. This is what it looks like. Now, obviously, if I pump that up, it's still not gonna look so great. So having these lights on there is really gonna be helpful. Let me turn this back on and turn off these house lights. So lighting does make a huge difference on how things look, and obviously, grading the footage, working with the colors are a little bit better when you have it set. I do have a preset in the camera set up specifically for this lighting and for this situation. You can set up whatever presets you want. If you're using the Blackmagic cameras, it's a great way to kind of store your settings, especially if let's say you're shooting one day and you're coming back the next day, everything's set up the same, the lighting and everything is there. I always make sure to write that down. The one thing that I always have on my desk is I have a book with me where I write all my stuff there, where I have my settings and everything else is all in this book, just so I know when I go back the next day or if I shoot through the day, I have everything set up properly. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any comments, please leave them below, and please like and subscribe. Looking forward to making more content. Again, next focus is going to be, I think, on grading and how I use these cameras to grade and how everything works with all these setups and these lights and what the best situation might be that's going to work for you. So again, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.